Hello and a very warm welcome to the brand new edition of Parliament This Week, your weekly roundup of all important developments in Parliament. I'm Kriti Mishra, and now let's begin the show. Parliament's monsoon session will begin from September 14th and continue till October 1st. Both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are likely to have 18 sittings each. The session will be held under strict social distancing protocols amid COVID-19 pandemic. Let's take a look at the legislative agenda. The government has listed 23 new bills for introduction in Parliament's monsoon session that starts from Monday. These include 11 bills that will replace various ordinances. Among them is an ordinance that aims to prevent violence against healthcare personnel. It makes acts of violence and harassment against healthcare personnel combating COVID-19 a non-bailable offence with a maximum punishment of 7 years imprisonment and 5 lakh fine. Another ordinance that will be replaced relates to reduction in the salary of MPs by 30% for 1 year beginning April 1st, 2020. The amount will be utilised in the fight against the novel coronavirus. The Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Bill 2020 will replace the ordinance to create an ecosystem where farmers and traders have the freedom to choose what produce they wish to sell and buy. This is aimed at facilitating remunerative prices through competitive alternative trading channels. Among the bills that the government has listed for introduction is the Jammu and Kashmir Official Language Bill 2020. It makes Kashmiri, Dogri and Hindi, along with existing Urdu and English, the official languages in the Union Territory. According to the Lok Sabha Bulletin, the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill 2020 has also been listed for introduction. The bill seeks to rationalize government role and increase participation of members in the working of the multi-state cooperative societies to increase public faith in these societies and create a conducive environment for their growth and development. Other bills listed for introduction are the Factoring Regulation Amendment Bill 2020 and the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and the Rehabilitation Amendment Bill 2020. The Lok Sabha will discuss and vote on the first batch of supplementary demands for grants for 2020-21. It will also take up discussion and voting on the excess demands for grants for 2016-17. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Moving on, JDU Rajya Sabha MP Harivansh on Wednesday filed nomination for Deputy Chairman of the Upper House as NDA's candidate. The election to the Deputy Chairman post will be held on September 14th, the first day of Parliament's monsoon session.
सर एनडीए ने दोबारा जो है आपके नेतृत्व में उपसभापति के चुनाव में आपको दोबारा जो है एक प्रस्ताव किया है आपके नाम का। और पिछले बार भी आपके पास एक छोटा सा कार्यकाल था, ज़्यादा समय नहीं रहा और बहुत चुनौतीपूर्ण रहा, क्योंकि नए जनादेश के बाद जिस तरह के माहौल में हाउस चला और बहुत अच्छा पार्लियामेंट का जो दोनों सदनों का परफॉर्मेंस बहुत अच्छा था। आपको अभी आगे क्या उम्मीद दिख रही है सर, और किस तरह का आप आने के बाद किस तरह के बदलाव आपके दिमाग में परिकल्पित?
दरअसल मैं आभार व्यक्त करना चाहूँगा एनडीए के सभी नेताओं का, सभी घटक दलों का, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का और सभी वरिष्ठ नेताओं का, मैं जिस दल से हूँ उसके मुख्यमंत्री जी का, जिन सबके सहयोग से मुझे पुनः यह एक दायित्व मिल रहा है। मैंने पहले भी हमारे राज्यसभा के जो चेयरमैन हैं और देश के उपराष्ट्रपति जी हैं, जो पदेन चेयरमैन होते हैं, उनके मार्गदर्शन में बहुत कुछ सीखने, जानने और करने का मौका मिला। आगे पुनः वह मौका मिलेगा। हमेशा उनका यह एक तरह से, जिसे हम एक शब्द में कहें, स्टैंडिंग इंस्ट्रक्शन रहता है कि जो इस सभा की मर्यादा पहले से स्थापित है, जो गरिमा है, उस गरिमा और मर्यादा के तहत राज्यसभा श्रेष्ठ ढंग से काम करे, यह काम हमें करना है। तो यह दायित्व मैं पूरा करने की उनके मार्गदर्शन में कोशिश करता हूं और एनडीए के सभी नेताओं की भी यही अपेक्षा है कि बहुत बेहतर तरीके से हाउस चले। और आप जानते हैं आज दुनिया जितनी तेज़ी से बदल रही है, उसमें हम संसद के कामकाज को भी उस संदर्भ में करना सबसे महत्वपूर्ण है ताकि देश आगे जा सके, और वही मेरी भूमिका होगी।
ये जो सर आपका चुनाव ये जिस दौर में हो रहा है, जो माहौल है इस समय, वो बहुत ही चुनौतीपूर्ण माहौल है पूरे दुनिया भर के। एक तरह से अगर आप देखिए, संसदों के लिए भी, जनप्रतिनिधियों के लिए भी और देशों के लिए एक तरह से। तो ये जो मानसून सत्र हो रहा है सर, ये इसमें आप क्या कुछ कहना चाहेंगे जो अपने साथी सांसदों से, क्योंकि ये एक बड़ी चुनौती है।
हर चुनौती में ही नेतृत्व का सृजन होता है और आप देख रहे हैं खुद देश में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कई बार रेखांकित किया है कि इतनी बड़ी चुनौती कोरोना की जो दुनिया के सामने आई, उस चुनौती में कैसे भारत ने कई क्षेत्रों में विशिष्ट काम करके दिखाया, और इसी चुनौती में जिस तरह के भी गंभीर संकट आए उसमें भारत ने वो प्रतिष्ठा दुनिया में अर्जित की है जो शायद पहले नहीं थी। तो इस चुनौतीपूर्ण वक्त में भी संसद उसी ढंग से काम करेगी जिसमें एक नई लकीर पैदा होगी। यह करने वाले बहुत सारे देश के वरिष्ठ लोग हैं, उन सब के मार्गदर्शन में हम सबको संसद में उस रूप में बेहतर काम करना है। और मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि हर एक माननीय सदस्य, चाहे वो पक्ष में हो विपक्ष में हो, जब आप आसन पे होते हैं सब समान हैं, उन सबके अच्छे कामों से मैं सीखता हूँ और बहुत कुछ सीखा है।
An RJD Rajya Sabha member from Bihar, Manoj Jha, filed his nomination as the opposition candidate for the post of Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha on Friday. Jha has been declared as a joint candidate by the opposition to ensure that the election for the post of Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman doesn't go uncontested. Jha will contest against NDA's nominee Harivansh of the JDU.
RJD member Manoj Jha filed his nomination papers on Friday in the presence of opposition party leaders. Jha is contesting against NDA's nominee Harivansh of the JDU.
Contesting it on behalf of almost entire opposition, just to convey a message that in parliamentary democracy, contest doesn't make each other enemies of each other. It is not between two individuals. It is between two alternative voices, two alternative narratives. I see this election precisely for this reason. We'll appeal to all parties, maybe some within the NDA, that please make sure that in the best interest of parliamentary democracy, the health of democracy, the position of deputy chairman should be offered to opposition benches.
The Congress, Samajwadi Party, Trinamool Congress, NCP, DMK, Shiv Sena, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, Kerala Congress, Communist Party of India Marxist and Indian Union Muslim League are supporting the RJD candidate for the post.
Like-minded parties have decided that we should contest on the basis of the principles. We may lose, we may win. This is not a big question. In politics, one loses, one wins. But the principles behind the politics are most important.
The post of Deputy Chairman fell vacant after the term of Harivansh, a Janata Dal United member, ended in April. He was re-elected as Rajya Sabha member in April. Election to the post of Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha will be held on 14th of September. This is Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's move on now. The department-related Standing Committee on Personnel, Public Grievances, Law and Justice recommended continuation of virtual courts even after the COVID pandemic gets over. Rajya Sabha member Bhupendra Yadav and chairman of the committee submitted an interim report on the functioning of the virtual courts or court proceedings to Rajya Sabha chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu. This was the first report to be presented by any parliamentary panel on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic.
Rajya Sabha member and chairman of committee Bhupendra Yadav on Friday submitted an interim report on the functioning of the virtual courts or court proceedings to Rajya Sabha chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu. This report, presented through video conferencing, is the first by any parliamentary panel on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The committee opined that court is more a service than a place, thereby supporting virtual court proceedings being resorted to ever since the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown in March 2020. To the reservations expressed by representatives of the bar about the virtual court proceedings, the committee said virtual courts have their own shortcomings. However, they constitute advancement over the existing system and therefore, on the overall, they are worth embracing. The committee further said it is time the courtroom opens its doors to the latest technology. Defending virtual courts, the parliamentary committee said digital justice is cheaper and faster and addresses locational and economic handicaps. It said digital approach also ensures safety of vulnerable witnesses and expedites processes and procedures. The committee also called digital justice an improvement over traditional courts in being affordable, citizen-friendly and offering greater access to justice. The committee said the virtual courts had shortcomings in the form of limitations of access, connectivity and skills. It urged the government to enable necessary infrastructure to integrate virtual courts to the country's legal ecosystem. Government representatives explained various initiatives being taken to put in place a centralized virtual courts infrastructure and to connect the district courts. The committee recommended that the virtual court proceedings be continued beyond the pandemic duration for identified categories of cases with the consent of all parties.
कि अच्छे न्यायिक शासन के लिए न्यायपूर्ण और लोगों के लिए सस्ता, सरल, सुलभ न्याय होना चाहिए। उसमें वर्चुअल कोर्ट का एक प्रयोग हुआ है। कोविड के दौरान लगभग कई लाख केस भी कोर्ट के द्वारा डिस्पोज किए गए हैं। क्योंकि अब इस टेक्नोलॉजी का प्रयोग किया गया है तो नीचे के स्तर पर जो इसमें कमियां हैं दिखते हैं उनको कैसे दूर किया जाए। केंद्र सरकार द्वारा जो ई कोर्ट का प्रोजेक्ट चल रहा है उस ई कोर्ट के प्रोजेक्ट को इसके माध्यम से कैसे जोड़ करके कोर्टों को सक्षम और प्रभावी बनाया जाए। और उसके साथ ही साथ इस मामले में हमने बार एसोसिएशन से लेकर सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सेक्रेटरी जनरल और मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ लॉ एंड जस्टिस से भी कमेटी ने पूरा कंसल्टेशन किया था। उन विषयों के आधार पे वर्चुअल कोर्ट को भविष्य में स्ट्रेंथ करने के लिए आज हमने रिपोर्ट माननीय चेयरमैन साहब को पेश की।
And Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu on Wednesday took stock of the entire gamut of special arrangements put in place for holding the monsoon session of Parliament.
A mock session of the House was conducted with him in the chair and the chamber and the 4 galleries of the House occupied by the staff of the Secretariat as per the seating arrangements already earmarked, keeping in view social distancing norms. Staff members were also made to sit in and participate from the chamber of the Lok Sabha, which becomes a part of the House for the entire session. Each aspect of transmission of audio and video signals from one chamber of the House to the other was thoroughly checked. A sample voting process was also conducted by distribution of slips in all 3 places. The chairman expressed his satisfaction over the arrangements made. He advised senior officials of the Secretariat to ensure that all guidelines issued by the Ministry of Home and Health and Family Welfare are followed scrupulously. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla has said on Thursday that holding the monsoon session this year was a challenge because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but it will be a historic one.
Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Thursday gave details about the preparations being made for the upcoming monsoon session of Parliament. He said that members will mark their own attendance through a dedicated mobile app, which will work only when they are inside the Parliament premises. While on the first day on September 14th, Lok Sabha will sit in the morning from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. All the other days, it will meet in the evening from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. On September 13th, the Business Advisory Committee will meet to finalize matters related to the functioning of the House. This will replace the normal all-party meeting. Members will be seated in 3 different places to ensure social distancing: 257 in the Lok Sabha chamber, 172 in the visitors' galleries and the rest in the Rajya Sabha chamber. There will be no question hour, while the 0 hour would be of half an hour duration. However, questions and answers will be tabled on the floor of the House. Members will submit their questions through the digital mode.
हम अधिकतम विधायी कार्य और ज्वलंत मुद्दों पर चर्चा कर सकें, इसके लिए शनिवार रविवार को भी सत्र होगा। ये सत्र एक विपरीत परिस्थिति में हो रहा है, इसलिए इसके व्यापक इंतजाम भी किए और सामाजिक दूरी से सभी मान्य सदस्य बैठते हुए अपनी बात को कह सकें, उसके भी व्यापक इंतजाम किए गए हैं।
The monsoon session of Parliament in 2020 is going to be quite unique. This will be the first time in Indian history, Indian parliamentary history, that members of Lok Sabha can also sit in Rajya Sabha and members of Rajya Sabha will also sit in Lok Sabha other than their respective houses. Journalists will also be sitting in their respective press galleries, but their numbers will be reduced. But the most important thing that amidst this pandemic and panic situation, the constitutional duty of Parliament is going to be fulfilled, and there are hopes that it will be very positive. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television in Delhi.
And here are all the updates about standing committees of Parliament.
The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Health and Family Welfare held a meeting on Monday. Headed by Samajwadi Party MP Ram Gopal Yadav, the committee discussed the COVID-19 situation and ways to deal with it. The Standing Committee on Labour also held its 33rd meeting on Monday. The committee, headed by BJD MP Bhartrihari Mehtab, discussed the state of the textiles industry in the country. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Commerce met on Wednesday to hear the views of representatives of the Confederation of Indian Industry and Pharmaceuticals Export Promotion Council of India on attracting investment in post-COVID economy, challenges and opportunities for India. 9 MPs were present in this meeting, which lasted more than 2.5 hours. The meeting of the Joint Committee on the Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 held its 12th meeting on Wednesday. The committee, under the chairmanship of BJP MP Meenakshi Lekhi, heard views of the representatives of the Reserve Bank of India on the Personal Data Protection Bill 2019. The Parliamentary Committee on Personnel, Public Grievances, Law and Justice also held its meeting on August 8th for consideration and adoption of the draft reports of the committee. This committee is headed by Bhupendra Yadav.
And as a precautionary or remedial measure to contain spread of COVID-19 infection and safety of members, it has been made mandatory for the members to undergo COVID-19 RT-PCR test before attending the ensuing monsoon session of Parliament. Take a look at this report.
Ahead of the monsoon session of Parliament next week, the COVID-19 RT-PCR test for MPs began at the Parliament House complex on Friday. Guidelines issued for the monsoon session of Parliament state that everyone entering the Parliament building, including MPs, will have to undergo the RT-PCR test at least 72 hours before the session starts. No visitors will be allowed entry during the session.
संसद परिसर में जो भी लोग आएंगे सबका कोविड टेस्ट अनिवार्य होगा ताकि हम हर संसद परिसर में आने वाले व्यक्ति को सुरक्षा की दृष्टि से भी और स्वास्थ्य की दृष्टि से भी सुरक्षित रख सकें.
So that's all I had for you in this edition of Parliament this week. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha Television.